Hi. This class will focus on chest opening and with some combination of more passive supported stretches and more active movement. You'll want to have a couple blankets and a couple blocks and a strap. So you can be creative with what you have at home, or if you have the official yoga props, have those ready for yourself. Get yourself seated, be in a position that is comfortable for you, some way that you can sit tall. Let your eyes close and shift your shoulders slightly back. Remove tension from the shoulders. Slide the hands a little bit back away from the knees and toward the pelvis direction so that the weight of the arms falls alongside or even slightly behind you. Gently draw the navel just gently in and lift through the roof of the mouth. You can leave the hands as they are, you can turn the palms up, or you can bring the hands together at the chest, and we'll chant the invocation to Sri Patanjali. Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarotam pravaram muninam patanjalim pranjalyaranatosmi Abahu Purushakaram Shankachakrasitardirnam Sahasrashirasam Shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Release the hands and let the eyes open. So we'll start gently and we'll work our way into the chest and the upper back. For starters, you'll want to have a blanket. And take your blanket and roll it along its own length so you end up with a nice long roll, something like this. Soft but rolled tightly, and place it lengthwise on your mat. So this will go under your back. And then take a second blanket and fold it so it can act as a little pillow. And place the blanket across at the far end. And then as we prepare to lie back on the blankets, you don't want your behind directly up against the blankets. You want a little space there, so that when you lie back, it's your ribs and your chest that are supported, and the low back, you can't quite see here, but there's a little space between the low back and the beginning of the roll blanket. And then tuck your chin, adjust the blanket under your head, extend your arms out by your side. And you can keep the knees bent, which is a little bit more gentle, or you can extend the legs out straight. And the straight legs, they are sort of crisp. They're like Dandasana legs. Press the thighs a little toward the floor. Press the shins toward the floor. Just gently narrow the waist, draw the abdomen in, lift the lumbar spine into the body. So there is an energetic lengthening and quickening through the abdominal area, waistline. And you can feel, hopefully, with the presence of the rolled blanket behind you, that the right side of the chest can release and spread a little more to the right, and the left side of the chest can release and spread a little to the left. You could even bring your arms a little wider apart to emphasize that widening or that lateral opening across the chest. Breathe up into the top chest, clavicle area, and visualize again the clavicle broadening left to right. And then release and bend your knees one at a time. Come to your side and use the arms, press yourself up. Let your head stay quiet when you press yourself up. And now you can take the the top blanket away and turn your rolled blanket crosswise on your mat. Now, same thing, sitting, lie back, and you want the blanket roll to hit you right below your armpits so that you can lean yourself back and your back of your head can touch the ground. And if your head doesn't touch the ground, or if your chin is really pulled up, take your other blanket and use it behind you as a support or a pillow. Let the arms come alongside you like cactus arms, palms up, and the whole arm should be on the same side of the blanket as your head and your top chest. And then you can keep the legs bent, or you can extend the legs out. Extending the legs out just brings a little bit more length, a vertical sort of energy, emphasizes a vertical extension. Makes the energetics of the pose a little bit more permeating, but also a little bit more intense, so you can see how you feel. That pressure, the contact behind the chest is soft because it's a blanket, but it's not too soft. You feel it. See if you can be in a good relationship with the breath. So breathe in a way that acknowledges the presence of something fairly firm behind your chest. Having something behind the chest limits the expansive capacity of the back ribs, and it emphasizes the expansion and movement in the top chest. Good, and then again, release by bending your legs one at a time. Roll to your side and use the arms to push yourself up. Let the head come last and bring yourself up. We'll do something quite similar, but this time with the blocks. So set your blankets aside. Get yourself 2 blocks. Place the first block lengthwise and the second block on its tall height. Actually, you can do this in one of 2 ways. You can do this block on medium and this block on tall. Or you can go down and have this block that's going to go behind your chest on the lower level and the block behind your head on the medium level. But it's nice to have the block that's going to go behind your head a little higher than the block that's going to go under your chest. So the same leg position, sitting a little distance between you and the block, and lay yourself down so that your sternum, the area behind your sternum, is what's on the block. And your head is supported by the slightly taller block. Tuck your chin and pull on the scruff of your neck a bit so the back of the neck is long. If your shoulders will tolerate it, bring your hands to the block that's behind your head and pinch your elbows a little bit toward each other, like the blinders for a horse who pulls a horse in carriage. And you can, again, keep the legs bent, or you can extend the legs out. And the straight legs are nice, crisp, active Dandasana legs. Stretch the skin on the soles of the feet. Press the whole femur bone. Magnetize the whole femur bone toward the sticky mat. Narrow the waist. So you can feel here that the effect of the blocks is slightly more permeating, a little bit more intense than the blanket. Of course, if it feels like too much, you could repeat the work with the blanket again. And if it feels inviting and you'd like to make it a little deeper, you can take the block that's under your head and turn it down a level so it's the same height as the block behind your chest. And then release your arms, bend your legs one at a time. Pushing the feet, just shift your hips a little to one side. Let yourself come to the side and then use your arms, press yourself up. And place your two blocks at the end of your mat, and we'll do Dandasana, the blocks behind us. I often like to have a little height under my pelvis when I'm sitting in Dandasana, so you can use the folded blanket if that's helpful for you. Both legs out straight. And now your blocks are back here behind you. Bring your hands back onto the blocks, fingers pointing forward, elbows a little bit bent. You can decide you like it better with your blocks on low or medium. Stretch the skin on the soles of the feet so the feet are lively. You look at your feet, they look like they're paying attention. Put a little bend in your elbows and pull the elbows straight back, away from the feet. Move the shoulder blades down the back. Now remember that feeling of having the rolled blanket behind your chest, along the length of the spine, and see if you can just gently bring the spine forward into the body. Keep the shoulders down. Lift from the roof of the mouth up so there's an inner sense of extension and length. And then release. And you can set your blocks aside. Set your blanket aside. And we'll do this kneeling twist. So come to your hands and knees. And then take your right hand and place your right hand between your left hand and your left knee. Turn the palm up. And then slowly start to slide that right hand through. And as you do, the right shoulder comes closer and closer and closer to the floor. And then your head comes down to the floor. And a lot of times in this pose, this area around the right shoulder, right side of the neck gets kind of scrunchy. So take your left fingertips onto the floor. Push your left hand to the floor and just lift your head and move it forward. Yeah, good. And then you can stay here with your fingertips on the ground if you like how that feels. Draw your belly a little bit in. Or if you like, you can take that left arm and reach it up. And then bring your fingertips down. And now you're really going to use that left hand. Push into the left arm and use that to lift yourself up. And then switching sides. Take the left hand between the right hand and the right knee, turn the left palm up, and slowly start to slide the left hand through until you come down onto your shoulder. Now, come on your right fingertips, push into the ground, and lift your head a little and move it forward away from the knees. So you get a little bit more length and space around the neck. It can be quite nice. This pose can be really helpful with the hand on the floor. So if that feels helpful, interesting, engaging for you, keep the right hand down. Or you can take the right arm up and extend it. If you choose to extend the top arm, it should be helping you, not kind of collapsing you. So pull through the right arm and really reach up, like someone's up there helping you. They've grabbed your arm and they're pulling you. Good. Now bring your right fingertips down. Now use the right arm. Push down and lift yourself up. And establish your foundation for downward facing dog. Hands about shoulder width apart. Spread your fingers. Knees and feet about hip width apart. And lift the knees. And extend back into downward facing dog. Push through the arms. Let the armpits lengthen. Turn the biceps slightly up toward the ceiling direction. Lift the skin of the shins, lift the skin of the kneecaps. Draw the abdomen in and let the waist be long. And then walk your hands and feet toward one another. Feet about hip width apart. Uttanasana. Let the spine extend out over the legs. Legs stay strong. The legs can be bent if that feels better for you, but even if they're bent, not too, you gotta generate some downward power through the legs. Bent or straight, project through the legs toward the ground. Let the back of the neck be long. And then bring your hands to your hips, outer hips. Start to pull the chest forward and come all the way up. And we'll do some half sun salutations. Starting in Tadasana. Inhale, raise your arms up. Exhale, dive forward, draw down and in. Inhale, extend the spine, extend the chest. Exhale, draw in. Inhale, rise up and reach up. And exhale, hands at the heart. And keep going through the sequence. Go at your own speed. Coordinate the movement of the body with the movement of the breath. Finish the cycle that you're in and go one more time through the whole sequence. And when you're done with your last cycle through the half sun salutation, then you can arrive in Tadasana, be tall and steady in Tadasana. As you settle into Tadasana, let the elbows be firm, let the wrists be long, fingers long. Take tension out of the thumbs and put life into the fingers. Move the arms just slightly back and turn the biceps slightly away from one another. And then release. And we'll do a little bit of arm work, so get yourself your strap. We won't use it right away, but have it nearby. And standing, place your hands on your hips so the thumbs are facing one another and the fingers are sort of wrapping around the outer hips. And hands on the hips, what I mean is right at this fulcrum where when you lift your thigh, where the hip creases So right in this juncture here, rather than up on your waist. So hands at your hips. Now start to move the thumb tips back toward one another so the elbows come closer together behind you. And kind of like when we did Dandasana, quite similar to when we did Dandasana with our hands on the block. See if you can move the shoulders toward one another, the elbows toward one another behind you. Gently press the shoulders down, shoulder blades down, and lift the spine between the shoulder blades up. So you can stay here. The next step, if your shoulders and chest are up for it, interlace your fingers behind your back and rest your knuckles on your sacrum. So you're making sort of a little fist and pull the elbows back. You could imagine that someone is just gently holding your elbows and pulling them back for you. With the friction of your knuckles on your sacrum, direct your tailbone down and your navel in and up. And you can stay here, or you can start to extend the arms straight and move the knuckles away from the back. Keep this feeling of slightly turning the biceps away from one another so the shoulders don't come crashing in toward the collarbone. And the shoulder blades here will have a tendency to really pinch together. So see if you can just project a little, just kind of resist that. Keep the shoulder blades just slightly expressed away from each other if you can. And then release the arms, let them rest for a moment. And then extending both arms out straight in front. Bend your elbows, bring your right hand to your left shoulder and your left hand to your right shoulder. This is the first step. You can stay here. The next step is to lift the hands and entwine the forearms. And you can really sort of draw the navel back and punch the elbows slightly forward. So now you're really stretching the shoulder blades and upper back. Good. And then release the arms. Extend the arms forward. Bring the right hand to the left shoulder, left hand to the right shoulder. Oops, I did the other way last time. Left hand to the right shoulder, right hand to the left shoulder. There you go. And you can stay here, or you can raise the arms up and entwine forearms, wrists, and fingers. Either way, whether you have the hands wrapped up, spiraling up like an ivy, or if you have the hands on your shoulders, punch the elbows a little bit forward, draw the navel back. And then release the arms. And now is when we're going to want our strap, just for one nice movement in particular. So take your strap, make it long, and place the strap behind the chest. So it's sort of at the same level as the chest. And then reach your hands out in front and grab the strap and walk each hand back just a smidge. And pull the arms forward and pull the navel back. Make the legs strong. Remember when you had your knuckles on your sacrum, and so you can get that same feeling of grounding the buttocks down. And then raise the arms up and pull up. And give yourself some real length, lifting the side ribs and the back ribs up out of the waistline. So there's a sense of making ourselves longer and lighter. And release the arms. And you can set the strap aside. So get yourself your blocks. We're going to do Anjaneyasana, some lunge work. Have your two blocks at the narrow end of your mat. I keep my blocks on high. If you like your blocks low, medium, knock yourself out. And I have a hardwood floor, so I usually put a blanket under my knees if you have nice soft carpeting or you just like how that feels. Again, knock yourself out, but I'm going to put a blanket down for my knees. So we'll start here, sort of an elevated all fours, and then take your right knee and step your right foot forward and have your left leg back. You can have with your left toes, you can have them turned under or pointed back. It's really personal choice. And you can position the location of the blocks a little closer to you, a little further, wider apart, closer together, whatever feels good. Now start to pull, make the arms straight, pull the chest forward. So the gaze comes a little bit forward. This is one expression of the pose. Next, if you can, just bring your hands up to your knee and push your hands down and forward and draw your chest up. So you're fairly vertical. The spine is roughly over the pelvis, over the knee. And you can stay up high like this. This is going to be some matter of personal choice, or you can start to move the pelvis more forward. If that amount of adventurousness feels good, then by all means go for it. You can stay here, or you can bring your hands to your outer hips like we did before, thumbs facing each other. Squeeze the elbows toward one another behind you. Lift the chest. Next, if you want, you can interlace your knuckles on your sacrum and use that to help compel the pelvis slightly forward. Really engage the muscles of the right, have the left glute back there, that back leg, keep your left glute strong. Navel in, and then last, if you can, if you want, you can extend the arms back away from you. Lift the chest. Look up. And then release. And bring your hands back to your blocks. And gently step the right leg back. Turn your blocks down a level, bring the knees a little bit apart. Sit your hips back on your heels. Cross your forearms on your blocks and rest your forehead on your forearms. So it's a really elevated variation of child's pose. Good. And then release. And come back up to your all fours. Blocks on tall. And now this time, step your left foot forward. Right leg back. Hands on your blocks. Start to pull your chest through. Pull the shoulders down. Remember, you can stop at any point that feels sufficiently challenging in a way that's satisfying and not, hopefully not overwhelming. Next step is to bring your hands up to your front knee. I always think of when you're learning CPR in this pose, hand on hand, and sort of press the knee forward and draw the navel in and back and chest up. And you can stay here up high, or you can start to shift the pelvis more forward if that feels available and fun. Next expression is hands on the outer hips, thumbs facing each other, elbows back, chest starts to lift. Strong right glutes, so push the right knee down into the ground, and that can help activate some responsiveness from the right gluteal muscles. Next, you can interlace your knuckles on your sacrum, and again, you can use that pressure as sort of a way to compel the pelvis a bit more forward, start to lift the chest again. And then last, if you want, extend the arms straight, lift the chest, lift the gaze, a big sweeping arc. Push down through the back knee, push down through the front foot, and then release. And step the left leg back. Again, knees just a little bit apart. Sit your hips back towards your heels. Turn your blocks to medium, or you can stay on high, actually, if that feels better for you. Cross your forearms, forehead to the forearms. So the spine is long. Let the breath be nice and steady. And then press yourself up. We'll do revolve Anjaneyasana, or maybe it's a variation of Parvita Parshvakonasana. So step your right foot forward, left knee back. If you can take that left knee and scoot it a little bit back so it's not directly under you at a 90-degree angle, but a little bit back, that will give you a bit more range of motion. Bring your hands up to your knee and bring yourself up tall. Now raise your left arm up and pull the left arm up, and then twisting to the right, bring your left hand to the outside of your right knee and your right hand to your hip. You can stay here, or you can slide to your forearm, your elbow. If you can get to the elbow, and you bring the palms together. And in particular, feeling this pose in service of the chest. Take the right hand, press it toward the left hand, turn the chest. Make the neck long. The abdomen is really twisted and contracted, but the chest is not overly compromised. So see if you can feel and direct the breath up into the chest. Good, and then release. And switching sides. Stepping the left foot forward. And again, having the right knee just that little bit behind you. Bringing your hands to your front knee. Lift yourself tall. Raise the right arm up. Pull up, and then twisting to the left, bring your right hand to the outside of your left knee. Left hand to your hip. And you might like how it feels up here, but you don't need to go deeper. If you can and if you want, you can slide your wrist, your forearm, your elbow. Bring the hands together. The top hand, the left hand pushes toward the right hand. Keep the neck long. Keep that right gluteal muscle, your back leg engaged. And again, you can kind of press the right knee down into the floor to help encourage a response from the right gluteal muscle. And then unwind and release, and step the left leg back and downward facing dog. Palms on the ground or palms on the blocks. Lift yourself up, give yourself some nice length after all that lunging and twisting. Let the legs be long and straight, armpits long, neck long. Good, and then release. The knees to the ground, come to kneeling, and we're going to do one arm Ushasana. So take your blocks and put them next to your feet. I actually have my blocks like off my mat. Just off my mat. Now raise your left arm up and pull up. And then lower down and reach your right hand to your block. And push through the right arm and lift with the left arm. So a little bit of a side bend and also a nice chest opener. And see if you can really push through the right arm to keep the chest lifted and reach through the left arm to pull some length into the left side of the ribs, left chest, and then pull the left arm and come back up. Raise the right arm up, reach up, and then slowly lower down left hand to the block and push into the left hand, lift with the top arm. So you'll notice that the left waist is a bit more condensed. Right waist is a bit more elongated. So push through the left arm. See if you can turn your chest a little bit more toward the ceiling And then use the top arm, pull yourself back up. Left arm up. Right arm reaches back. Feel free to move, adjust the position of the blocks, that's fine. Push into the right hand, lift the chest and start to turn your chest more and more so you face the ceiling and reach and pull through the lifted arm. Come back up, one more time, right arm up. Pull up first, draw the belly in. Remember the feeling of having the knuckles on your sacrum. Move your sacrum forward, left arm back. Push to the left arm, chest up. Pull with the right arm, and to whatever degree you can, rotate your chest so it faces the ceiling. And then come back up, and then release. And then I'm going to demonstrate this one before you do it so you can watch. Set the blanket aside for a moment. We're going to do bridge pose on our backs with the blocks under the feet. So I like my feet just a little wider than hip width apart. Definitely you'll want your blocks on their lowest level for this because it's going to be the most stable. And usually when I have my feet on the blocks, I like my heel a little bit on the over the edge. If I have my foot flat on the block, I feel sort of like I'm going to slip off. But if I can get a little bit of purchase on this edge here, it helps my legs feel stable and I have a little bit more trust in the foundation. Then I'll scoot my tush up toward the blocks and lie myself down. Having the feet elevated is going to take some pressure off the lumbar spine where a lot of us can feel back bends in particular and bridge pose. And it also helps get a little bit more lift and space up into the chest, which can be hard to find. So then I'll grab the edges of the sticky mat and I'll lift my hips up a little bit and then get the shoulder blades toward one another underneath me and then really lift that feeling of when I have my knuckles on my sacrum, lifting the sacrum. If you can, and if you want, you can interlace the hands behind you, or you can keep grabbing the edges of the mat. If you interlace your hands, a lot of times the arms will bend and the hands kind of float up towards the buttocks. To whatever degree you're able, see if you can extend the arms and bring the knuckles toward the floor and the hips up away from the knuckles. And I hope that that will feel good for you. So let's do it together. So come onto your back, set your blocks, hip width apart, maybe a little wider, and get your feet on your blocks and maybe have your heels a little over the edges this way. So it feels safe and your foot doesn't feel like it's going to slip off. And then as you lie down onto your mat, just scoot yourself a little so the butt is pretty close to your heels and your blocks. Then for starters, reach down and grab the edges of the sticky mat. This is a great variation and you don't need to do hands behind you if this feels more clear for you. Now push into the feet, lift the buttocks up, just part way, and then get your shoulder blades underneath you, and that already emphasizes the opening of the chest. Now give it a good heave-ho, push into the heels, push into the feet, lift the hips up nice and high. Let the neck lengthen, let the chin tuck, so the pit of the throat is soft and the back of the nape of the neck is really stretched. You can stay here, hands on the outer edges of the sticky mat, or you can interlace your hands underneath you, behind you, and try to straighten the arms and bring the knuckles toward the floor. Suck the elbow tips in. Gently press the shin bones from the knees toward the feet and lift the sacrum higher. Feel the sternum getting more and more vertical. The sternum comes toward the chin. Like when you see the Amish people do a barn raising and they build the whole side of the barn, and then all these guys get the ropes and they pull it from lying flat on the ground to be upright. See if you can use the legs and compel the sternum up, 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 more vertical, more vertical, more vertical. Good, and release the arms. And set yourself down. Move the shoulder blades a bit apart. The neck lengthen. Nice, and then you can set your blocks aside. And scooty scoot scoot on your mat so that you get one of your blankets, have a blanket underneath your head. Both knees bent, push into your feet, lift the hips a little and move the buttocks away from the waistline. Draw your right knee into your chest, extend your left leg out. You can rest the left leg on the floor or you can lift it and hover slightly. And then release. Draw the left knee in toward the chest. Hold the shin with your hands and extend the right leg out. And the right leg can extend on the sticky mat, or you can lift it nice and firm and straight and hover it slightly. And then release and draw both knees in towards your chest. Just give yourself a good squeeze, maybe even rock a little side to side. And then release and set yourself down and set up for Shavasana. Adjust the pelvis. Extend the legs out one at a time. Let the arms come a little bit away from the body, palms up. And just gently press the shoulders underneath you toward the floor. So the shoulder blades are providing some foundation for the heart and the chest. Let your eyes close and let your jaw relax. And be in Shavasana. If you have time to stay in Shavasana for longer, please do that for yourself. Otherwise, you can bring some small movements into the hands and feet. Let the arms bend one at a time. The legs bend one at a time. Roll to your side. And again, when you push up, really let the head stay behind. So use the strength of the arms and press yourself up. And come to sitting in a position that is comfortable for you. And we'll end with 3 rounds of Om. practicing